One of the major issues in the federal election was energy, specifically how Canada can unlock its energy potential, especially while the trade war looms with the United States. Last week, while speaking in Calgary, newly minted Energy Minister Tim Hodgson spoke on the importance of cutting red tape and approval times in the energy sector.
We will build a new foundation, one that delivers the strongest, most resilient economy in the G7. We are living through what the Prime Minister calls a hinge moment in our national story. This is not a time for half measures or slow steps. It's a time for bold action, clear decisions, and a renewed spirit for building. That means reframing the national conversation. No more asking, why build? The real question is, how do we get it done? That means breaking apart barriers and cutting through red tape. It also means doing things responsibly the first time, meeting our duty to consult so Indigenous peoples are true partners, and protecting our environment so we don't have to clean up mistakes later. I want to be very clear. In the new economy we are building, Canada will no longer be defined by delay. We will be defined by delivery. I'm going to say that again. In the new economy we are building, Canada will no longer be defined by delay. We will be defined by delivery.
And the urgency to build now was echoed by the Prime Minister just yesterday when he spoke to Liberal MPs in Ottawa.
Your commitment, your ideas, your energy will be essential, and our partnership will be vital. It's my solemn commitment to work with all of you to seize this moment for Canadians, to build big, to build bold, to build together, to build now. Let's get to work. Merci beaucoup.
Joining us now to discuss what's next for the energy sector under Prime Minister Mark Carney is Brendan Caldwell, Director at Caldwell Securities Ltd. Brendan, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. It should be a fascinating one to build bigger, bolder, better, but they don't at any point say to build what. But we'll talk about it.
Now, how will Prime Minister Mark Carney's new energy policies impact the financing of major oil pipeline, especially in light of ongoing regulatory and geopolitical challenges?
Wow. I think I can fairly say, along with the rest of the investment industry as we sit here right now, Theresa, we have no idea. Now, I am cautiously optimistic being the sort of economist euphemism, that something will get done. When they say build bolder, bigger, better, and all the different B words, the implication is they're talking about Alberta energy and getting that to blue water, getting that to tidewater, getting it to markets that can use it around the world. And whether it's gas or oil, to getting pipelines built so that north, west, or east, and potentially south, that the energy actually gets out to the world, because there is a, not to contradict our former Prime Minister, but I think there is a business case for Canadian energy elsewhere. So in terms of the, how did you phrase it? The environmental regulations, the strictest ones are here in Canada, where there have been limits on how much carbon, which is really the sole source of energy that's being targeted, as though there aren't problems with other forms of energy. There have been caps put on how much energy can be produced, limits, and I think that's what's galling the people of Alberta most. So I don't know what those policies are actually going to look like in real life. We'll have to see when the first one gets approved, and or maybe when the first one gets built. Better, bigger, badder.
And how could stricter emissions rules change profits and investments for Canadian oil and gas companies?
Well, I guess that's just it. When you have a limit to how much can actually be produced, or at least that's how the Alberta government characterizes that, it does mean that there is a cap on how much investment will go in. And weirdly, it would seem intuitive or counterproductive, because the less Canadian oil there is out there, the less supply that there is on the market globally, the higher prices go up. Now, one could fairly say that those that were in favor of alternate forms of energy and that really are pushing for that would actually like higher oil and gas prices, because it makes the alternate forms of energy, relatively speaking, more economic or less uneconomic. But it does also mean that countries that hate us will end up with more of the profit than Canada will, because Canada really is the only major normal country that is itself a petrocurrency, that has a dollar that's very much linked to the price of energy. After us comes maybe Norway and then Mexico. But in terms of normalcy, the rabbit hole goes very deep when it comes to energy exporting countries after that. So, through Venezuela and Nigeria and these sorts of places that maybe aren't on the same page, or Iran even, that aren't on the same page as the West.
And what impact could Alberta Premier Danielle Smith's push for greater control over Alberta's oil and gas sector have on the economy and the province's relationship with Ottawa?
You mean short of secession? Well, nominally speaking, at least the Constitution says, what I mean nominally, I mean what it says in our Constitution, is that there are a number of areas of the economy that are provincial jurisdictions. Securities, stock exchanges, for example. But one of those areas is natural resources. They are, at least in theory, provincial jurisdictions. So how much energy gets taken out of the ground, the permits for that, how that all works, is supposed to be, when it comes to Alberta's responsibility. But increasingly, there's been a bit of a creep or a jurisdictional overreach when it comes to Ottawa in a number of different areas, not just energy, where by using its immense power to redistribute wealth, the federal government, whose main role in the economy is actually to extract and redistribute taxes, has done this to the benefit of some provinces over others. In principle, it's not a bad idea to have a certain degree of equalization, but when there's overreach such that one province perceives itself, rightly or wrongly, as being punished for having the good fortune to be on one of the largest fossil fuel deposits in the world, yeah, I think Alberta could do a certain amount, but ultimately it's going to come down to cooperation, because as much as the production of energy in Alberta should be Alberta's purview, getting that energy to tidewater, getting it to the oceans, means either going through BC or Manitoba or the United States, or right across the country through Ontario and Quebec. So there's going to need to be a certain amount of cooperation rather than just confrontation.
And what changes might Canada's oil and gas sector see under the new energy minister, Tim Hodgson?
Well, Tim, I first met Tim when at the Olympics in 2010. Neither of us won a medal. I think at the time he was working for Goldman, and I'm still where I was before, working for Caldwell. But he's had a number of adventures since then, including working with Mark Carney while he was governor of the Bank of Canada, when Mark Carney was governor of the Bank of Canada. So it's his first role as a cabinet minister, and I'm cautiously optimistic. He had in his talk, which you showed at the beginning of the segment, much to say about building and getting it done. My caveat would be there's a lot in there about consulting with various groups and making sure everything's looked after, and the devil is in the detail, as they say. So getting all the approvals from all the affected parties has been what's delayed not just energy, but any sort of energy. I mean, we have a huge deposit of so-called rare earths in the Ring of Fire, and none of that's got developed either because of all of the groups that need to be consulted. So it's very well to say we're going to get it done, but you need a process by which it actually gets done, and that Perhaps not everybody is perfectly happy with the resolution. They say you have a good deal when everybody's a little bit unhappy.
Now, we do just have under a minute, but how could new government actions and industry changes help Canada attract more investment?
Make it easier for companies to raise money, deploy that money, and become publicly listed. The answer to every problem that faces our nation or any nation isn't more government. The private sector is more nimble and more flexible and deploys capital far more efficiently than any government in any country does, because people are investing their own money. So make it easier for companies to raise money and deploy money. And I think you will find a much better result for the country as a whole. So when it comes to the energy sector, however you define energy, from fossil fuels to rare earths, make it easier for companies to actually get that money spent in the ground and the energy extracted from the vast wealth of natural resources our country has.
Brendan, thank you so much for the time today.
Thank you.